Well, it's Friday. That means today is Adventure Day. So today I'm going to breach the subject of my submarine project. This is part one. I'm going to mostly be talking about the absolutely incredible experience I had living on one of the top 10 luxury resort islands in the world in Fiji and what it was like, because it was an experience that few, if any, people have ever had. It was amazing. And oh, by the way, don't mind my hair. I don't have much body left. It's kind of sad. Not like the good old days. And this is the good old days when I had that beautiful hair. Now, some people thought I was doing the Barry Gibb thing from the Bee Gees, but I always tended to think of myself more like a bearded, Dirty Harry. Yeah. And I don't even know what this was about, but this was back in 1977. So when I went to Fiji in 1986, Turtle Island was one of the top 10 luxury resort destinations in the world. So coming from Hawaii, the Black Line takes about 7 hours, and you land in Nandi, and then from Nandi, you go on about 110 mile flight up to the Yasawa Island group, which is where Turtle Island is. Now, the amazing thing is that when Richard bought this island and when Turtle Island began, up in the Yasawas, there was no other resort. I mean, look at how remote that is. I mean, we're talking, once you head north from Turtle Island, you don't hit anything for 1,000 miles. It's like the end of the world. But his was the only resort up there, and it was quiet and peaceful, and there was not much boat traffic and no people. And there was no internet, no telephones, and no television. And people came there knowing that they were going to be isolated from the world for the duration of their stay. So there was quite a different environment then, because it has changed a lot now. So this is approaching Turtle Island from Nandi, and if you remember the movie The Blue Lagoon, that smaller item down near the bottom was called Patty's Island. Now here you can see it, and right down you can see the dock, and here's a close-up. That's the famous Blue Lagoon right there. And it's nice to see that since I've been there, they've added a whole lot of solar panels to supplement the generator. And then also, because water was always a problem on this island, Richard built a dam, and now he has a reservoir that always fills up during the rainy season. And this is a pretty good idea of what it's like there, the beautiful fish. And you always arrive by seaplane. Takes about 50 minutes to get there. And there again, this is where they filmed the movie, The Blue Lagoon. But I'll tell you, I couldn't sniff out any remnant of brook. And here you can see what you can have awaiting you when you come down the pier. And here's a little spot outside of your bure, which is a bungalow for relaxing. And you can go for horseback rides. Now, when I was there, the bures were very rustic. But boy, by the look of these pictures, it's a whole different world. You can also arrange to have a romantic dinner in the lagoon. And there's just a beautiful shot. Yeah. Here you come, arriving at the island. And you know what's sad? I was there for 540 days, and I saw 540 gorgeous sunsets, always by myself. Now, perhaps you've heard people talk about being in Hawaii and having island fever. And I hear that, and I say, island fever? You want to know what island fever is about? Try living on a 500-acre island that you can walk around in 4 hours at low tide. And there's no commerce, movie theaters, restaurants, just vacationers, people having a wonderful time. So I had to get off that island every 2 to 3 months for a week, or I'd go crazy. And I once went to Thailand. And that was in February of '87, and I was in a restaurant that was favored by Americans. And all of a sudden, I look up, and someone comes walking through the door. This guy. So I managed to get him to come over to my table, and he sat down, and we started having beer, and in Vietnam, really great to film the movie. I believe launched him into the stratosphere. Of course, neither of us knew Good Morning we were bipolar at the time, and it was really I think it was some kind of recognition. And he actually did tell me that he thought I had a comic mind, and that's a pretty good accolade coming from someone like Mr. Williams. He was really a nice guy, a very nice guy. And if we had had another 20 or 30 minutes to talk before his people came in to get him, because it was only 15 or 20 minutes, I think we would have ended up being friends from that point. But it was pretty cool. Now, one thing about being on Turtle Island, you're going to meet the 1%ers of the world, a lot of famous people. This is John Pertwee, one of the original Doctor Who's and one of the nicest person, he and his wife Inga, I ever met. And even today, his son Sean is acting. And, of course, you recognize these guys. They loved coming to Turtle Island and came there a lot. And I even got to meet one of my favorite early hood heroes, Gomer Pyle, and tragedy struck on January 28th, 1986, when the Space Shuttle Challenger, carrying Krista McAuliffe, the first teacher into space, took off, and everything looked just as normal and great as it always did until like 71 seconds or so into flight. It blew up and was so tragic. It was along the lines of 9/11. Now, this is Commander Dick Scobie, obviously the commander of the space shuttle, and his crew. So in the front left, you've got Michael Smith, the pilot, Commander Scobie, Ronald McNair, a mission specialist. In the back row on the left, you've got Ellison Onizuka, a mission specialist, and then you have Krista McAuliffe, and Gregory Jarvis, and then finally Judith Resnick. May they rest him. But in 1987, the two people on the left, that's Commander Scobie's parents. They actually came to Turtle Island, and it was really nice to get to meet them. Now, in Fiji and other islands across the South Pacific, there's a drink, it's very ceremonial, very much part of their culture, called kava. And it's a slightly narcotic drink that kind of numbs your head. And typically, every evening after dinner, I'd go and sit around the kava bowl with the Fijians and whatever guests wanted to join in. And one day, a new guest was sitting next to me, John, and we start talking. And I asked him, John, tell me about yourself. And I was not prepared for what I was about to hear. He goes, well, 20 some odd years ago, I was shot down over Hanoi, Vietnam in my F-4. And I spent 5 years in a prisoner of war camp. I was like, what? And then he said something amazing. He said, but I didn't give up. And 4 days ago, I was elected as Arizona's newest U.S. Senator. So this was, in fact, John McCain. And he and his wife, Cindy, were just two of the nicest people I ever met. They treated me like a dear friend. And I got to hear firsthand from his mouth some of the harrowing stories of his time in the prisoner of war camp. But he was truly an American hero. These are the only souvenirs I have left of my time. You've got the tapa cloth printed with Fijian stuff, the wood bowl used for the kava, and a book about the Asawa Islands featuring Turtle Island that was signed by all the staff. So that's my souvenirs. So please be sure to hit the like button, and to share this with everyone you know, and I mean everyone you know, and I'll be very happy. Thank you, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.